Hey teachers, thanks for tuning in. We are going to talk about how to protect student information. This is a virtual session, so there are a few things at the end that I'm going to ask you to do as proof that you have completed this session. So here's our objectives. I'm going to provide you with resources that will help you learn how to keep student information safe and secure. I will also ask you to have a conversation with your students about how to keep their information private and secure, because many of them do not understand how to do this and the importance of doing this. And finally, I will ask you to distribute privacy resources to parents on how they can help ensure that their children are kept safe online and while using instructional technology tools. First, I want to address the why. Why is it important for us to understand how to protect student information? In your teacher evaluation, Standard 2 says that you'll create a respectful environment for all of your students. Specifically, 2E addresses the fact that we have to collaborate with the families about the lives of our students. And another standard, Standard 4, teachers facilitate learning for their students, but specifically in that standard, 4D, says that you'll integrate technology and you'll know when and how to use it in order to make it for effective student learning, and that you will use it to solve problems, discern reliability, use information, and you can read the rest. So we can see that in your own evaluation, it's important to know how and when to use appropriate instructional technology resources. And when we think about appropriate and using it appropriately, that involves knowing how to make sure that our students and their personal information is protected and safe. Another why, you may have heard of the ISTE standards. ISTE stands for International Society for Technology and Education. It's a national set of standards for teachers. There's a set for coaches, a set for administrators. So they're very important, and I need to do a better job of attaching these standards to lessons that I do with you, because a lot of you are fulfilling these standards every day in your lessons. Goal 4 of the ISTE standards for teachers addresses digital citizenship and teaching responsibility to our students and how we can teach them how to exhibit legal and ethical behavior. Not only through modeling it ourselves, but teaching them how to go about it in their daily lives. So I guess after the why, we need to talk about what needs to be protected, right? So the acceptable use policy from Onslow County Schools, there's a lot that's in there, and this can be found on the website, and that's available down below, but I'll show you that in just a second. Number 3 of the acceptable use policy states that all students and employees must comply with all of the laws. And whenever I started creating this virtual PD for you, I found out that there are a lot of organizations, a lot of agencies that have created laws and standards for us to abide by. And they protect different groups of students, some of them, but a lot of them are for all students. And we'll talk about those in just a minute. So you can read over number 3 and 9. So number 9 focuses on the privacy of others, and it defines personal and identifying information. So anything that is going to allow someone that does not know a child, or maybe even has heard of the child, to get any information about that child that would identify them further. So their phone number, any checking or credit card information, or any billing information whatsoever, any part of their social security number, their address, their email address. We want to keep all types of those things safe. So, in addition to encouraging our students not to put this information out there, we have to make sure that we don't do that on our own web pages, that whenever we're presenting student work, or maybe we're doing a showcase or something, we have to make sure, number one, that they are not on the opt-out list, and number two, that we are not giving any information about that student that is personally identifiable, such as their last name. We need to use first name and last initial only. FERPA, the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, has a lot of statutes and policies that we need to be following. And it is addressed and referenced several times on the Onslow County Schools one-to-one website. And you can find the acceptable use policy that the above statements are from here using this link. So what processes are already in place in Onslow County Schools? I was really impressed whenever I started to put these resources together for you, because Onslow County Schools has really done their homework. We have a non-approved software form, so if I wanted to purchase some software that all of my students are going to use, what I would do is fill out this form, and if you have questions about this and there's something that you want your students to use, we can fill this out together and get it to the right people. But basically, it's going to make sure that the software is secure, that our infrastructure can provide the support that the software needs in order to run, just the basics of what it needs to run, and also that if a student publishes anything that is created using that software, where is that going, and is it going to protect their personally identifiable information, like their email? Is it, if they post a link to a project and it's a public link, what can a visitor to that link access about that child? And then also we have what form that's going to allow you to block websites that you don't want your students to go to. If you've noticed that they're on some websites, you can shoot me an email and I can do this part for you. But know that this is at your fingertips as well, that you have the capability of applying for website access if you know that it's something that you need for your classroom. The IT department will look at it and say, okay, yeah, that is a safe website. We're going to go ahead and unblock that. And that happens fairly quickly. And then also this form that you're familiar with is the multimedia opt-out form. So at the beginning of every year, students have to fill this out. And even if they have two students here, each student has to fill one out. Or each student has to have one. So notice here what this restricts. It restricts pictures, any identifying information in the yearbook, on your classroom website, any pictures that you take on school field trips, any multimedia like presentations cannot have their name on it, or any sort of identifying information. If this child has turned in this form, then we have to make sure that we are really conscious about making sure none of their stuff ends up online for even instructional purposes, as it says right here. So where's the SBMS opt-out list located? It is located in Edmodo. Carrie Jackson does a great job updating that. If you need to see it, to figure out if you have students who are on it, then please let me know if you can't find it. Okay, so there's a 9-minute video that I'd like for you to watch. It's from the U.S. Department of Education, and it's a really good visual of what student information is, and it talks about directory information like their name, their phone number, their address, who their parents are, and then it talks about other and identifiable information and what we can do with each set of information. So before you sign up for anything, check the terms of service. Look for privacy statements. Is the data collected at random and publicly displayed? Then it's a no-go. So I would suggest creating a sample presentation that your students would, and then clicking on the link at the top of the website and pasting it into a new tab to see if when you're logged out of that software, if you can see their name and to make sure you know exactly how to protect that student. Also, the terms of service we should be checking every single time we use something. For example, Quizlet. I pulled up their terms of service because I know that's used a lot on our campus. Well, check this sentence right here. For children under 13, Quizlet requires parental consent and offers a limited feature set and website experience that removes certain social features. So at that point, we need to ask ourselves, who in our classroom is under 13? Even if they're turning 13 this year, if they're currently under 13 when they're using Quizlet, we need to send a letter home asking parents to give permission. And some terms of service don't say that. Some terms of service don't say that it requires parental consent. It just says for children under 13, period. And that means if you have any kids that are under 13, it's a no-go. So if you aren't sure and you just want to make sure all your bases are covered, let me know. I can help you figure out if it's secure enough for your students to use. So here's what you need to do. Have this conversation with your students. Talk about the fact that passwords are private. This is not something that they should be sharing with anyone. That means a friend or a stranger. The only people that are allowed access to their passwords are teachers and their parents. Make sure you tell them to check the privacy settings on apps and websites. When they sign up for an app, what are they actually sharing with third parties? Make sure they uncheck boxes that are sharing their information, because a lot of times the default setting on those apps check the boxes for them and for you too. And it might share your information with websites that you don't really want your information shared with. Encourage them to check the terms of service themselves. Have them self-reflect. If they're under 13, they always need to be checking these terms of services. Also, have them always use their Office 365 email whenever they're creating an account for something that you've asked them to create an account for. For example, if they're creating an account for Quizlet or Quizzes, then they need to use their Office 365 email. It's secure, it's filtered, and it's monitored. Don't disclose personally identifiable information that isn't secure. So tell them you don't need to use your address ever without the direction of your parents. Don't use your personal email. Don't use your phone number, and don't use your last name. And then encourage them to talk with their parents about this topic. Have them find out what their parents' expectations are. They may not know that they need to have this conversation. And then the last thing I want you to do is include a letter similar to this one, or you can use this exact one. I tried to make it easy on you. In your next parent letter, because this link right here has some great tools for parents that will help them understand how to keep their kids' privacy protected when they're using instructional tools. So it gives them lots of different steps here, and then the parents can also click whichever category their child falls under if they have younger kids too, and find out some helpful tips on how to protect their kids. Okay, so this presentation was made with Sway. You have access to Sway in your Office 365 account. If you'd like more information on that, please let me know. And thank you so much for participating in this PD. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns or follow-up thoughts.